Dude, what are you doing?
Playing games.
Why?
I'm bored.
Oh, we got a documentary to do, Sarkis.
Oh shoot, you're right.
About two-wheel transportation.
Fresh Kid T. Oh yeah, we back. Oh, and Zafoon, by the way. Yeah, Jones. Yeah. Chitty bang.
In our world today, we see all different types of two-wheel transportation, whether it be the bicycle, motorcycle, scooter, electric scooter, and even segways. But how did these innovations come to be, and where did they start? Me and Sarkis are here to tell you all about it.
That's right, Ryan. There are several early but unverified claims for the invention of bicycle-like machines.
That's right, Sarkis, but in 1817, Carl Dreiss invented a primitive bicycle called the running machine. It moved by the person using it using their legs to push off the ground, causing it to roll since it had no gears.
In 1863, the bone shaker was invented and was made of steel and had straight angles and steel wheels, making this bike literally a bone shaker to ride over the cobblestone roads of the day. The innovation from the last model was that it had pedals fixed onto the front wheel, which meant it had one gear, but it also meant that it did not go fast at all.
Following the 1863 bone shaker, in 1870 the ordinary bicycle was invented. The front wheel was still very large and it still had a fixed one-gear pedal system. It was slightly more comfortable than the bone shaker, but required somewhat of an athlete to ride due to its awkward size. It was also the first bicycle made entirely of metal.
In 1890, the safety bike, with metal that was not strong enough to make a fine chain and sprocket, small and light enough for a human being to power, was invented. The next design was a return to the original design of two same-size wheels, only now instead of having just one wheel circumference for every pedal turn, you could, through the gear ratios, have a speed the same as the huge high wheel. The bicycle still had the hard rubber tires, and in the absence of the long, shock-absorbing spokes, the ride they provided was much more comfortable than any of the high-wheel designs.
A pneumatic tire, or air-filled tire, is a tire made of an airtight inner core filled with pressurized air. This innovation of the 1890s, which was invented by an Irish veterinarian named Dunlop, made the ride of the safety bike much more comfortable and helped people move away from the ordinary bike, which has one huge wheel in the front. The safety bike allowed large numbers of people to take up cycling, but bikes were relatively expensive, so use was somewhat restricted to the elite. At this point, the safety bike was basically the same design as the modern bike.
Motorcycles appeared in the late 19th century and are directly descended from the safety bicycle that had the same size front and rear wheel and a gearing system.
The first motorcycle was invented by Gottlieb Daimler in 1885, which was an engine attached to a wooden bike that marked the moment in history when the dual development of a viable gas-powered engine and the modern bicycle collided. Gottlieb used a new engine invented by an engineer by the name of Nicholas Otto. Otto invented the first four-stroke internal combustion engine in 1876. He called it the Otto cycle. Although this was the first motorcycle, this was just an experiment and was never mass-produced or manufactured on a corporate scale.
In 1894, Hildebrand and Wolfmueller became the first series production motorcycle company, and the first company to call their product a motorcycle. By the 1920s, Harley-Davidson was the largest manufacturer, with their motorcycles being sold by dealers in 67 countries. By the late 1920s or early 1930s, DKW in Germany took over as the largest manufacturer.
By the 1930s, the motorcycle businesses were booming, and by 1931, Indian and Harley-Davidson were the only two American manufacturers producing commercial motorcycles. These two company rivals in the United States remained until 1953, when the Indian Motorcycle Factory in Springfield, Massachusetts, closed and Royal Enfield took over the legal name. So how does this relate to modern-day two-wheel transportation? Well, none of the motorcycles or bikes you see today would have been possible if it wasn't for the early innovations of Carl Dreiss and other engineers who helped farther along two-wheel transportation. So remember, kids, next time you're riding a bike or motorcycle, remember, always wear your helmet. It may come in handy.